lose! I don't lose! I win!
Keanu Reeves is known for being an eternally popular actor who's taken on roles ranging from a computer hacker in another world to an adolescent goofball, a young doctor, an assassin, and a scab quarterback, among many others. Nowadays, with a net worth of $360 million, he's got enough dollars to do as he pleases. And what pleases Keanu the most seems to be helping other people and making the world a better place, despite a tough upbringing. Make sure to stick around until the end to hear about the one hobby that Keanu has that you might not have heard about. Keanu Reeves might look like he's got it all, but he's experienced far more trauma and tragedy in his lifetime than most other people have combined. He was born in Beirut, Lebanon to showgirl and costume designer Patricia Taylor and geologist Samuel Reeves. When he was only a toddler, his father walked out. He spent his early years in Hawaii, Australia, New York, and Canada, rushing from one school to another, before he eventually dropped out after being diagnosed with dyslexia. At the age of 17, he quit school for good to focus on other projects, but tragedy wasn't far behind, and Keanu's best friend, actor River Phoenix, passed away when the pair were only 23 years old. You're beginning to understand the struggles that this movie star has faced over the years, but that wasn't the end of his stream of unfortunate events. Keanu has recounted his story in the past, which gets even more tragic. He said, quote, "In 1998, I met Jennifer Syme. We fell instantly in love, and by 1999, Jennifer was pregnant with our daughter. Sadly, after 8 months, our child was born stillborn. We were devastated by her passing, and it eventually ended our relationship. 18 months later, Jennifer passed in a car accident. Since then, I've avoided serious relationships and having kids," end quote. If you're feeling close to tears, you're not alone. But Keanu's managed to overcome his grief time and time again and has kept up his consistently successful career. Keanu has a net worth of $360 million, which is more than we'd ever know what to do with. And it seems that Keanu struggles almost as much as we would, because he lives a pretty frugal lifestyle. This actor has admitted to living a gypsy life in the past, where he traveled around and never had a place to call home, and says that now that he's settled in his home in Los Angeles, he feels safe. That's not to say that his house is small. Instead, it's a huge mansion with incredible views of the Hollywood Hills. But you won't be able to find many personal details, and that's exactly the way this star likes it. For nearly a decade following his initial rise to stardom, Keanu preferred to live in rental houses and hotels. It seems that he would rather spend his money on stopping the press from entering or writing about his house rather than actually doing it up from top to bottom. And that's not too surprising when you learn that in September 2014, 2 female intruders managed to get into the grounds of his home in the space of just 2 days. He also has an apartment on Central Park West in New York City, but we imagine, even if we don't know much about them, that they're both still pretty fancy on the inside. But he's not only splurged on houses for himself. Keanu is incredibly generous when it comes to looking out for other people, as you'll continue to see throughout this video. He once told Playboy that one of the changes brought by wealth was that, quote, "I can buy my mom a house," end quote. Don't expect him to share any details about this property, because we think Keanu's mom probably wants her privacy almost as much as Keanu does. But we will assume that it's an expensive and beautifully decorated pad for her to enjoy. When it comes to cars and motorbikes, he's got an extensive collection that he loves to spend his millions on. In real life, he's a very private man, and when he's in New York, he rides the bus and subway just like the rest of us. But when he's got some spare time on his hands, he loves to get behind the wheel of some of his favorite vehicles. Keanu once met up with a local bike builder from California, and together they created the very first Arch motorcycle, a brand that he now owns. Known as the KR-GT1, this bike has a V-twin engine and is capable of achieving 121 horsepower. But the company not only creates the machines, it also made one rider's dreams come true with a sponsorship deal. Young rider Damian Jagalov was given sponsorship by Arch and went on to compete at the world's highest levels. This is just one example of Keanu passing on his kindness and fortune to someone else. Everyone spotted the truly iconic vehicles that Keanu's ridden in his films, particularly the Mustang in his epic film John Wick, or even the Lincoln Continental in The Matrix. But if there's one that comes to mind, it's probably the motorcycle he drove in the 90s classic Chain Reaction. Another in his collection is the prestigious 1973 Norton Commando, an expensive bike sought after by many collectors. And when it comes to cars, Keanu's not holding back. He's been spotted in a beautifully colored bright red Ferrari in the past, as well as a rare Volvo 122 coupe, which he restored when he first moved to LA. Over the years, the Volvo has gone through many makeovers and is still one of his most prized items. It's most definitely a gem with a large price tag attached. Let's focus on more of Keanu's movies, because this is an area where he's used his money wisely. Keanu spent some of his money in the past on taking a pay cut, and while you might wonder what the benefit of this is, he did it in order to be able to work with some top-class actors. After he was signed to star in The Devil's Advocate in 1997, Keanu learned that the movie's budget didn't allow for hiring Al Pacino, an actor that Keanu really wanted to work with. So what did he do? He told the director and producer that he'd rather take a pay cut from his admittedly huge salary so that he could work alongside Al Pacino. And that was only the first time. He did the same thing again in the making of the sports comedy The Replacements in 2000, when Keanu refused part of his salary so he could work with actor Gene Hackman. What he lost in finances from taking a pay cut, he gained in experience. But generosity doesn't always come in a monetary form. Keanu famously gave away some of his money not in cash format, but rather as motorbikes. We told you that he loved them. While filming The Matrix, Keanu gave the stunt staff of the Matrix movies Harley-Davidson motorcycles at a cost of around $8,000 each, a unique way of thanking them for all their hard work. In an interview with the Seattle Post-Intelligencer, he said, quote, "I just wanted to give a bigger thank you to all these guys who helped me make this, I think, one of the great movie fights in the history of cinema," end quote. He also decided to hand over some actual cash to the unsung heroes of the sci-fi blockbusters, the costume and special effects team. His movies and making them as great as possible is an area where the sky's the limit as far as Keanu's concerned. Not only did he want to make those previous examples better by bringing on more incredible actors, but he also forgoes some of his pay for the Matrix series in order to plug more money into the costumes and special effects that we know and love. Because it's Keanu, no one knows exactly how much he put back into the Matrix's two sequels, The Matrix Reloaded and The Matrix Revolutions, but we know it's in the millions. And of course, it paid off. The movies have been huge successes, and who knows how much of that Keanu is directly responsible for. We're betting quite a lot. You're probably getting the impression by now that most of Keanu's millions of dollars go on helping other people, and you'd be completely right. We've spoken extensively about putting his money back into his career, but he's also spending his dollars on helping thousands of people across the world. Some of this stems from his experiences growing up. Keanu's sister suffered from leukemia, and so he donated 70% of his gains from the Matrix movie to hospitals that treat leukemia. And in 2009, Keanu told Ladies' Home Journal, quote, "I have a private foundation that's been running for 5 or 6 years, and it helps aid a couple of children's hospitals and cancer research. I don't like to attach my name to it. I just let the foundation do what it does," end quote. Other charities that Keanu's contributed to include SCORE, Spinal Cord Opportunities for Rehabilitation Endowment, which is a group that helps people living with spinal cord injuries. We'll take a break from talking about all of Keanu's charitable efforts, or you might actually find yourself moved to tears, and this is supposed to be a positive video. Instead, we'll tell you a little about another outlet Keanu is putting some of his hard-earned dollars into, and it's one you might not have heard of. Despite being dyslexic, Keanu is a huge fan of words and actually writes his own poetry, and because he has such a huge annual income, he has the money and the fame to publish his poetry himself. In 2011, Keanu collaborated with artist Alexandra Grant for Ode to Happiness, a limited-run book featuring a poem written by Keanu and accompanied by Alexandra's illustrations for each line. The two have since gone on to work on 2016's Shadows, a similar poem and art project featuring photos of Keanu, and are now pursuing their own publishing imprint to showcase titles with a visual aesthetic that are sold via art stores or an online subscription. It might not get half as much publicity as his movies do, but it's another amazing side of Keanu that the world should also know about. That's all for how Keanu Reeves spends his millions. This man is proof that it's possible to overcome even the hardest things time and time again. Did you know about all of the incredible charity work he does? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to The Richest, and join our notification squad. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.